Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Shelley and Adrian and the entire Premier team who made today's event possible. I am humbled for the opportunity to be here with you all in celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In preparation for today, I researched Premier's mission and values and was pleased to find such a strong commitment to values that I personally hold dear. Respect each person's dignity. Act with integrity to do the right thing in all aspects of our responsibilities. Serve with compassion that embraces each individual's concerns and hopes. Commit to excellence as measured to the highest levels of performance. I believe that much common ground can be found when we root our solutions in the values that we share. The theme of today's event, Passing the Torch, The Dream Continues, has given me great pause as I reflect on the legacy we are leaving and the torch we are passing on to future generations. In my work, I've learned that the inequity our community is faced with is by design. The median wealth of a white household in the United States is $142,000. The median net wealth of a black household, however, is $11,000, a 13-to-1 ratio. When we dig into the data further, we find that among the lowest earners in the United States, white households still have a median net worth of $18,000, while black households' net worth is near zero. When we talk about the challenges our community is faced with, addiction, food insecurity, unemployment, poor health outcomes, high crime, widening achievement gaps, we often intertwine race and class as if these outcomes are inevitable. These are just the problems of poverty, and this just happens to be the group of people who experience these challenges the most. In low-income communities and communities of color, X. In minority and low-income communities, Y. The language we use and the trends we see are so common that we rarely stop to think about why that might be. It's just the way of the world. It's just how things are. But in fact, this is an inherited legacy, one that was designed with intention, determining who has access to wealth and opportunity and who is excluded from the pursuit of the American dream. As far back as we look into our nation's history, we will find the foundations of oppression. But it is not just those foundations we must examine. We must also unpack the layers upon layers of support structures that were built upon those oppressive foundations. Those structures have laid the groundwork for the development of our schools, our neighborhoods, our hospitals, our highways, our cities, our economy, and our world. If we seek to address any of the great challenges our community is faced with, we must also take stock of our history and reimagine what our future might be if we are bold enough to build something different. We all inherit a history, but I believe what we do with that history will determine our legacy. So if we look to the future and dream, as MLK often inspired us to do, we must also take a hard look at where we are and how we got here. In the midst of the Great Depression, Congress passed the National Housing Act of 1934 in an effort to make home mortgages more affordable after the banking crisis of the early 1930s. This legislation created the Federal Housing Administration, the FHA, which enabled the federal government to insure mortgages issued by qualified lenders and protect them from default. To guide lending decisions, the FHA prepared neighborhood security maps that examined the physical and social environments in cities across the country to determine which neighborhoods were safe for investment and which ones were not. Neighborhoods were given a security grade ranging from A to D, largely based on the racial composition of the neighborhoods, with English, German, Scottish, Irish, and Scandinavian people ranked highest, and Negroes and Mexican ranked lowest. These assessors' notes reveal in strikingly plain detail that the factors determining which neighborhoods the federal government was willing to invest in was largely based on which people the federal government was willing to invest in. On the screen, you will see the notes from the neighborhood Oakwood High School was built in. Security grade A, favorable influences, highly restricted, very high-class residential, exceptionally good schools, parks, playgrounds, homogeneous as to the development and character of property. Transportation, good. Good fire and police protection. Detrimental influences, none. Here are the notes from the neighborhood Dayton's Thurgood Marshall High School was built in. Security grade C. Favorable influences. Good transportation, good schools, good playgrounds, newer section of medium-priced houses with similar type houses, reasonable residential restrictions. Detrimental influences. Necessary to travel through colored section to get to it. This is our history. It is also our present. In theory, our society is built upon meritocratic principles, and our schools are the access points to the American dream. Here in the land of opportunity, with hard work and a good education, anything is possible. But what if I told you that the location of the school your child attends is far more likely to predict their educational and economic outcomes than how hard they studied? Today, Black children in Dayton metropolitan area are nearly 5 times as likely to attend high poverty schools than white children. An EdBuild report from 2016 revealed that out of the 33,500 school district borders that exist throughout the United States, the boundaries between Dayton and Oakwood, as well as Dayton and Beaver Creek, were among the top 10 for most segregating school district lines in the entire country. The median property value in Dayton is $67,200. The median property value in Oakwood is $232,000. This is by design. On the screen, you will see Dayton's 1937 neighborhood security map and our 2015 public health opportunity map. Not a whole lot has changed over 78 years in the land of opportunity. On the left, security grade A is shaded in green, B is blue, C is yellow, and D is red. This map you are looking at determined where public and private dollars flowed prolifically and where the spigot was shut off for generations. For the purposes of our 2015 report, The Geography of Opportunity, public health defined opportunity as a situation or condition favorable for the attainment of a goal. The report introduction states, the opportunity structures that impact an individual's chance to succeed are closely related to the social determinants of health, the social and physical conditions of the environment where an individual is born, works, plays, learns, prays, and ages. Residents of communities who have few public transportation options, have to send their children to low-performing public schools, live in communities plagued with crime and violence, or live in an area of concentrated poverty are subjected to social conditions that can have a negative impact on their health. After reviewing data measuring health, housing and neighborhood conditions, transportation and mobility, economic health, and education, each neighborhood in Dayton received an overall opportunity score. On the right, you'll find the darker the color, the higher the level of opportunity, with dark blue representing very high opportunity and white representing very low opportunity. Notice the trends between the maps. Today, a Black child in this city is 3 times more likely to die before her first birthday than a white child. There is not a single full-service grocery store within our city limits to serve the 44,000 predominantly Black residents of West and Northwest Dayton. Black people in the Dayton metro area are twice as likely to be denied a conventional home mortgage as white people, even when controlling for income, loan amount, and neighborhood. This is not okay. It is not acceptable, and it is not by accident. It was designed this way. While the 1968 Fair Housing Act made the official practice of redlining illegal, its legacy still drives much of our community's economic investment decisions. Development follows development. These racist and discriminatory policies literally created the market forces that our businesses respond to every single day. Grocery stores, schools, hospitals, coffee shops, restaurants, recreational facilities, theaters, retail stores, housing, all of the things that make up a healthy, vibrant, and strong community follow investment. When companies are deciding where to build, what to shut down, what to invest in, they follow the money. But these maps clearly show that the invisible hand driving market forces is not invisible. It is stained with red ink. As a society, we often react to what is instead of reimagining what might be. The gross inequities that plague our city are our history, they are our present, but we have the opportunity to decide if they will become our future. On April 4th, 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his seminal speech at Riverside Church condemning the Vietnam War. During his remarks, King said, "When machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of our present and past policies. On the one hand, we are asked to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will be only an initial act. One day we must come to see that the whole Jericho Road must be transformed. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring." King's words are as salient now as they were 52 years ago. The beloved society he inspired us to envision will never exist until we reimagine our responsibility in creating it. My generation has inherited a legacy derived from the triple evils King spoke out against. It feels like every day there is a new report highlighting our bleak future. Limited job prospects, uncertain retirement, diminishing safety nets, widening wealth gaps, lower life expectancy, debilitating debt, a weakening democracy, an impending climate crisis. The list goes on. The torch we have been passed in many ways forces our hand. Build something new or perish. The recent UN climate report predicts that by the time I'm 50, the planet we live on will no longer be inhabitable for tens of millions of people. What then? The tools we have used to build our education and healthcare systems, plan our cities, design our roads, and grow our economy have produced a dying planet and an inequitable society. As my peers and I consider having children of our own, we are now forced to think long and hard about the world we will birth them into if things do not change. But what if they did? What if we chose to build upon the legacies of civil rights leaders instead of those left behind by FHA land assessors? What if the torch we pass down to the next generation was one lit by a fire of what is possible instead of what is profitable? I want to build something new. Dr. King once said, "I'm not a consensus leader. I do not determine what is right and wrong by looking at the budget of my organization or by taking a Gallup poll of the majority opinion. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." When we live by our values, when we respect each person's dignity, act with integrity to do the right thing in all aspects of our responsibilities, when we serve with compassion that embraces each individual's concerns and hopes, and commit to excellence as measured at the highest level of performance, great things are possible. King ended his Beyond Vietnam speech with a bold call to action. We are now faced with the fact, my friends, that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. If we do not act, we shall surely be dragged down the long, dark, and shameful corridors of time reserved for those who possess power without compassion, might without morality, and strength without spirit. We all inherit a legacy and a history, but each of us has the opportunity to be audacious in the legacy we choose to leave. I believe in our collective capacity to do great things, to build something new, to build something that has never existed before. Responding to what is will never allow for the opportunity of what might be. So I humbly stand here and ask each of you today, what will your legacy be? What will you do as leaders in this community to not only address the inequities that exist in our city today, but to lay new foundations for the opportunity for tomorrow? My generation needs molders of consensus, not responders to it. Our future will be determined by the decisions you are making today. So I ask that you think boldly about the torch that you are passing on to us, that you act audaciously in the pursuit of something greater, and that you work tirelessly to ensure that the river that divides the city no longer acts as a fault line of opportunity, but instead flows powerfully through a community which is committed in its commitment to justice. My generation is ready to build something new. Will you join us? Thank you.